started.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So, equipment. Equipment's always a huge discussion point because
this is the time that I want to let you realize that this is probably a party that you don't want to attend, but you're locked in.
Oh my goodness. All right. Someone else is at the controls right now, if you couldn't tell.
We won't name names.
Yeah, we won't.
But
Starts with an Amanda.
You could at least change the first letter. When I do that, it's like...
I said with a short E. Amanda.
What's a short E? There's no E.
Entrepreneur.
What?
Go ahead.
How do you spell Amanda?
Exactly. That's why I changed the first letter to E. Amanda.
All right.
All right. Go.
So, as I was saying, equipment. Everyone wants to watch equipment. That's the biggest thing you see anyone talk about, at least from my experience. And, what piece of equipment should I buy first? What should I have, period? Do you buy? Do you rent? Do you lease? What do you do? So we'll talk about what do we do or what have we done now and over the years. So, John, take us down memory lane.
What am I supposed to do? Just tell every piece of equipment we've ever had
over
the last
24
years?
What equipment did we start out with? What machine?
Are you talking about since we've been into hardscapes exclusively?
Oh, that probably makes sense, yeah.
Okay. Well, started out with lawn boy pushing to the neighbor's house.
That's not...
Back in 1994. And yeah, that's how it originally started. $75 lawn boy. But since we started doing hardscapes, it was a borrowed skid steer off of Joe Roach, which that, I guess we can come back to that, but that led to a whole bunch of problems. So it started off with a borrowed skid steer. We bought a dump truck bought it like a Chevy or GMC 3500. Small dump truck, brand new, but they can't haul very much. I don't know. We bought our own skid steer after that, and then we rented a bunch throughout the years, but then we leased an excavator for a couple years, and during that time we also leased a track loader, and we sent the excavator back and kept the track loader, so we paid off the track loader in full. And that brings us to now. Are you talking basically just major equipment or like?
Yeah, just like specifically. I mean, for us, it's been Bobcat specifically, but
I mean, you don't mean like chop saws and stuff like that?
not small power tools, like the large equipment.
That'd take us probably 3 hours.
Yeah, that's a whole other episode. If you want to hear that, let us know. Well, first we had a skid steer, we had a wheeled machine. Now we have a track machine. And which do you prefer?
The track machine because it's 20 years newer than the wheeled machine that we had, and it can lift more. For a comparable machine, like that one was I think it was a 99 or a 2000 machine, and it had like a 45 horsepower motor, and the track loader, which is about the same size, same dimensions that we have now, is a 75 horsepower motor engine. So I can lift a lot more. Like with the old 773 Bobcat wheeled machine, it was really pushing the limit and struggled to get a pallet of pavers off of the truck. This machine we have now is a TE590, and there's no issue whatsoever getting a pallet of pavers off. I think they weighed like roughly 3,000 pounds. So it's the same size, the same radius and everything, same lift height, but it just got a lot more power.
And that was why we specifically got that machine, because we wanted to, that was one of the questions we had asked was, will it lift a pallet of pavers without struggling?
Yeah, because we wanted the smallest machine possible, because we're in backyards and tight spaces. Pittsburgh is not very spacious, especially in the city. It's not very spacious at all. So we wanted something that we could fit into the vast majority of our projects, and we can. We almost never use like a Dingo, the mini track loaders, because if we're only a couple feet away from a full-size machine, and the mini ones, just, I don't know how guys use them. They're you can only load like 600 pounds at a time, and we've done it once or twice, and those things are a nightmare to use. They take forever, and they don't save the lawn. You're still destroying. It actually makes it worse, the ruts, because the tracks are so much less wide. And
we had one particular project that I'm thinking of too, where, because we were using one to get into somebody's gate in their fence, because they didn't want to take a section of a panel down. And I remember you showing me what the yard looked like. I can picture it in my head, and how much more rutted it was. But to your point, it doesn't save the yard or anything. Like the tracks are not as wide. But what's the other factor that keeps you from sparing the yard? Because the capacity of that machine is only, what, a third?
Probably, yeah. So you're making triple the amount of passes back and forth. You're there longer, just because you have to unload pallets. And I know that they make the minis up to like 2,000 pounds now, but there's a lot of guys that swear by them. To me, it's probably the most useless piece of equipment that I've ever used. It's nice to train guys on, as far as like track loaders or skid steers. It's the same concept with the controls. And if you can use the mini track loader, Dingo, you can run a skid steer. It's the same concept and everything like that, but just to even load our dump truck, it's only an F550, but to load that thing with a mini track loader, we have to take a side panel out, and it takes so long. It's like, my goodness, why mess with this stuff? So now our machine, now we can load a triaxle. So we, instead of trying to mess around using small stuff, no, I guess a caveat is it has to be a low-sided dump triaxle. You're not able to load a regular high-sided without some sort of incline. You have to be higher than the triaxle. But our machine, we can load the triaxle company that we use, load them with no problem.
Yeah, as long as we specify, give us the low side one, which at this point he knows.
Yeah.
To do that. So, yeah. So it's not like we haven't given a walk behind. I guess if we're just talking Bobcats, it's what, an MT100 or something. I haven't given them a fair shake. Like, yeah, but you've tried over the years. I can think of several projects we've done, like backyard projects, and we demoed one because we were thinking like, okay, what if we do lease or buy one? And we've rented them, and just it's not really worked out.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys like them because they're half price, the initial investment. Instead of spending $70,000 for something comparable to what we have, you're spending 30 to 40 as a jumping off point, but you're doing twice the work. The hours, they just don't last near as long. I know that 2,000 hours on one of those, the thing is pretty well spent, but a regular full-size machine, 2,000 hours is not a problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's just, I don't know. case you can't tell, I'm not a fan of them. Unless there's a very, very specific reason. I'd definitely rather use one of those than hand digging, but other than that, I do not see the purpose of them.
Well, I think you could load a dump trailer with that.
I guess.
And you could put it in a trailer.
I would say that a dump trailer is also an extremely useless tool for hardscaping. You can haul more weight with a dump trailer, but I guess if you have the room for it, if your dump sites accommodate them, but every time I'm at a dump site and I see a guy with a dump trailer, I'm pulling in and I'm dumping before he even gets like set up and to get ready. And it just a whole lot more hassle, and they take so much longer. I don't know if one possibility could be the people using the dump trailers just have less experience. I don't see any around us. I don't see any big name companies using dump trailers. It's all the kind of the guys with the usually unmarked pickup trucks, F-250s that are hauling them. So
I think it probably is kind of a starter, like breaking in kind of setup.
Yeah, it's just something else that I mean, we talked about it and we were going to do it, and thankfully we actually didn't get approved for it because we thought that it would fix the problem, but we didn't know about how they worked. I thought I could haul a load in the trailer and a load in the truck, and that wasn't the way that it worked. And then we got turned down anyway we were kind of over leveraged on debt.
I don't specifically remember that. I remember talking about a switch and go and trying to figure out if we could haul equipment.
Yeah, we talked about the dump trailer anyways.
I think that was before that. So we, like John said, we have the track loader now, and that's our primary machine. And then currently we just rent an excavator as needed not for every project, but when
we need it. Yeah. And it's tough spending the money on rental when, I mean, we spend probably $15,000 a year on rental for an excavator, whereas we could basically own one for close to that. But it also shows up at the job exactly when we need it. Comes with the exact buckets that we need for that particular job. It's the exact size that we need. Sometimes, because we typically use only Bobcat, just because we like the dealership. But so sometimes we'll have a 35 E35. Sometimes, last year we needed an E85 to reach down over the hill, and so if we would have kept the 35 that we used to have as a lease, we wouldn't be able to use it in a lot of the scenarios that now we're into. We'd be using a lot smaller piece of equipment than necessary. So it's kind of like the dingo situation where just you're trying to force yourself to use equipment that just it's not really the right fit, but because you own it, you're doing it. It's just, I don't know. We've tried it and it has not worked.
Yeah, and we have this conversation every once in a while. I mean, the big thing was we wanted to make sure we had a piece of equipment and determine that the track loader would be that piece because you can move pallets around more easily and just faster. I mean, you technically could move pallets with an E35 and you've done it.
If it's on the ground.
Yeah.
If they're stacked up, I can't. But yeah, you can, with the excavator, you can position the bucket and the dozer blade and lift them off the ground to get them in the backyard. But you cannot do that if it's stacked up. Whereas the track loader, they can be stacked probably 6 high without any issues.
And one of the things that we did when we had the excavator lease first, after did we get rid of the wheeled the skid steer before the excavator?
Yeah. No, actually we had them both simultaneously, and I mean that thing it needed so much work. It it was developing leaks in places that I didn't really feel like messing with.
Well, before you even bought it, it was not well maintained.
It was horribly maintained.
Yeah.
But I mean, we got it cheap at the time. I think it was $7,700, something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, for only having 1,000 hours on it, but yeah, it was definitely needed a lot of stuff that I could do myself, and then just throughout the years, the thing was just rusting apart, and it's when you have an older piece of equipment like that, you're becoming the mechanic, and even if you like doing that, you still have to make sure that you're paying yourself to do to work on this stuff, because you'd be paying somebody else, and that's where, as an owner, you get sucked into the trap of doing everything and not actually paying yourself a wage, which is very, very dangerous and very, very frustrating if you want to stay in business.
It just creates a false sense of profit, of the getting the pulse on your business. You can't really do it accurately.
And that takes me back to the original thing where a buddy lent us a skid steer, and it was the worst thing that could have ever happened, because I have a free skid steer, and he, it was a super nice thing for him to do, just lend me basically $50,000 or whatever for me to use. And it just, what happened was we used it, and you can't really appreciate it the same as far as like you don't know what it costs, and you're not charging the customers that, because hey, I got a free skid steer. Well, this customer should have been charged for that, and I should have given him some money, and it never even occurred to me like that, hey, this is a bad idea. Now I wouldn't do that. It's like, no, I'll rent it, and I need to pay for it, and ultimately the clients have to pay for it. So that's we fall into a trap, or as entrepreneurs, as business owners, of trying to bootstrap it, but you also need to make sure that you're charging what you need to. So there's a reason why the bigger companies cost more money to do an installation. It's not because they just charge more money. It's because they know what it takes to actually run a business. That's why they cost more money.
They've accounted for everything.
And the little guys haven't. And that's one of the biggest areas. That's why people basically work for almost nothing, and it's a race to the bottom, and they don't understand what they're doing, and then eventually they say, you can't make money doing this. You can make money doing this. You can make money doing anything. It just, you can't make money if you're the cheapest guy and you're not making enough to cover your true expenses.
And that's where rentals are nice, because they've accounted. Bobcat's in business because they've already counted their costs, and they're charging you for the maintenance and everything. So that's one of the places, or a place you can start if you're out there and you're not sure what to charge for a machine. Rental rates are going to have those items accounted for. It's a good starting point.
Well, the rental rates, you take about, it depends on a few factors, but you take about half of the whatever they're charging you per the day, take that by half, and that's because that accounts for the rental company's overhead and profit. But that's what the machine would cost you to have every day. So if you rent it for a day and it costs $300, it's going to cost you $150 a day. And the difference is, when you're paying for a machine that you own, you're paying that, especially if you're doing it on debt, which I wouldn't recommend if you can at all avoid it. You're paying that. Bobcat, Wells Fargo, whoever, does not care that you got rained out. But because we rent so much, if we had a really bad week, they help us out.
Bobcat's been phenomenal.
Yeah, it helps a lot in picking one place to go to. I wouldn't rent from every single place out there. Try and get somebody who's actually a good rental place where you're not getting garbage. That makes a huge deal too. If you're constantly having to fix their stuff, we've had that, and it's just a bad fit.
Well, I mean, and we remember we got a dud before from Bobcat, and they took care of it right away. So you can't do that if it's your machine. If your machine goes down, no one's there to give you a replacement.
What do you
right
mean
away.
a dud?
One machine that hadn't been used for a while that
Oh,
didn't have
yeah.
algae in the gas tank.
Yeah, and they told us it was an old machine, but it was something to get us in really quick.
Proverbs 14:23, in all labor there is profit, but the talk of the lips tendeth only to penury. Let's stop talking and make something happen. Thank you both for listening. Be sure to share this with your in-laws, your outlaws, that friend who doesn't appreciate personal space. They sure won't bother you anymore.